Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2007 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony. At this time, please join us in welcoming past World Food Prize laureates. From India, the 1987 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. From the United States, the 1991 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Nevin Scrimshaw. From China, the 1993 World Food Prize laureate, His Excellency Ha Kong. From India, the 1996 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Gurdev Kush. From India, the 1998 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. B.R. Barwali. Denmark, the 2001 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Per Pinstrup Andersen. From the United States, the 2002 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Pedro Sanchez. Representing the United Nations from the United States, the 2003 World Food Prize laureate, the Honorable Catherine Bertini. From Sierra Leone, the 2004 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Monty Jones. From Brazil, the 2006 World Food Prize laureate, His Excellency Alisson Paulinelli. Distinguished international guests, former Minister of Agriculture of Brazil, His Excellency Roberto Rodrigues. South Africa Minister of Agriculture, Her Excellency Lulama Yingwana. Former Prime Minister of Niger, His Excellency Ibrahim Mayaki. Former President of Benin, His Excellency Nisafor Soglo. Representing the state of Iowa, President of the Senate, Jack Kibbe. Speaker of the House, Pat Murphy. Assistant Senate Minority Leader David Johnson. Representing the Iowa Congressional Delegation, Congressman Leonard Boswell. The World Food Prize Party, escorted by the chairman of the World Food Prize Foundation, John Ruan III, and the president of the World Food Prize, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, the father of Green Revolution, one of the founders of the World Food Prize, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Dr. Norman E. Borlaug. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this evening's special guest of honor, the 2007 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Philip E. Nelson of the United States. Presiding at tonight's ceremony, the Governor of Iowa, the Honorable Chet Culver, accompanied by First Lady Mary Culver.
The story of the World Food Prize revolves around the vision and generosity of two men, Dr. Norman E. Borlaug and John Ruan, both of whom began life in 1914 in small towns in the U.S. state of Iowa. Dr. Borlaug's distinguished scientific career led him to extraordinary achievements in increasing wheat yields. And in 1970, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his role as the father of the Green Revolution, which prevented severe food shortages and famine in many parts of the world. Since the Nobel Foundation has no prize for food or agriculture, Dr. Borlaug envisioned an award like the Nobel Prize to honor individuals who are confronting the critical issues of food security and poverty alleviation. And thus, in 1986, the World Food Prize was born. The prize was first awarded in 1987 to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan for his critical role in spreading the Green Revolution in India through the introduction of high-yielding wheat and rice. Since then, laureates have been recognized from a wide array of countries. Their accomplishments, a diverse array of breakthrough achievements, include the development of miracle rice in the Philippines, doubling the world's rice production, the establishment of microcredit enterprises in Bangladesh that enabled women to rise out of poverty, the development of high-protein maize in Mexico to counter chronic malnutrition in children, the eradication of cattle plague and crop pestilence in Africa, and implementing the policy framework which moved China towards self-sufficiency in basic food. The World Food Prize sees itself as a partner in the great global effort articulated by the leaders of the world during the United Nations Millennium Summit to eliminate the contrast between abundance and want, and to turn poverty into prosperity, sorrow into joy, and pain into promise.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a member of the World Food Prize Council of Advisors, Jonathan Taylor.
In Any Language, a poem by Lucille Morgan Wilson. In any language, hunger is an ugly word. There is no music in hunger. The rumble of empty stomachs, the monotonous whine of a child wasted with disease, the moan of the mother whose baby lies bloated and still in her arms. Hunger is the listless din of apathy, bred of weakness, the faded brown and gray of dead leaves after autumn has ebbed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the World Food Prize, Ambassador Kenneth M. Quinn.
Thank you so much. That very moving reading of Lucille Wilson's poem by Jonathan Taylor always is the beginning of our ceremony, because while tonight is a night of celebration, we always need to remind ourselves that we're here for the cause of countering hunger. And that's what brings us together. Governor Culver, leaders of the legislature, thank you so much for the privilege of being here in this chamber in our state capitol tonight to present our award. This is the seat of our state, and from which many great things have emanated. And it's so fitting that we be here tonight to award the World Food Prize. And I want to say a special word of welcome to all of our guests who have come from across America and around the world to be here. It's an amazing assemblage of people. We have the CEOs and chairmen of DuPont, Pioneer, Syngenta, Kemin, Land O'Lakes, and this morning we have the chairman of Monsanto and the Secretary of Agriculture. It's a wonderful gathering for our symposium, our Norman Borlaug Dialogue on Biofuels. We have the heads of NGOs and advocacy groups. Sasakawa Global 2000 came from Tokyo to have their meeting here this week. The Alliance Against Hunger was here for our Hunger Summit. The Partnership to Cut Hunger and Poverty in Africa is here. We have a distinguished array of diplomats who are with us from around the country, around the world. 10 former presidents of the Institute of Food Technologists, because our laureate, Phil Nelson, was also the president of the IFT. And Norman Borlaug Fellows, U.S. Department of Agriculture Fellows from 17 different countries, They're up here in the balcony. Please join me in welcoming them and everybody here. Now, this has been a remarkable year for the World Food Prize. First of all, it's the 75th anniversary of the Ruan companies, of John Ruan's creation of the company back in 1932 when he started with just one truck that he got deadlined out of a farm field. And he built it with his drive and entrepreneurship into a major trucking enterprise. But for us, one of his most significant achievements was his rescuing the World Food Prize. Wouldn't be a World Food Prize tonight if it wasn't for John Ruan. And I wish that he and Betty could be with us, but I know that they're at home watching. And would you all join with me in sending out over IPTV a greeting to them? And today, the Ruan companies and the World Food Prize is led by John Ruan III. John, would you please stand up so we could acknowledge you? And now, also this year, Governor Robert Ray, former Governor Ray, went to Thailand to present the first ever Norman Borlaug World Food Prize medallion to His Majesty the King of Thailand for his wonderful efforts over the past 6 decades to provide food to his subjects. It got huge coverage in the Thai press. It was on the front page of every newspaper. It was the lead story on the news. And I wanted you to have a sense of that. So we have a little clip from the Bangkok TV Evening News. Now, you may not understand too much of what's said, but if you listen closely, I think you'll recognize at least a few words.
เวลา 16:33 นาทีพระบาทสมเด็จพระเจ้าอยู่หัวเสด็จออกณพระตำหนักจิตรลดาโหฐานพระราชวังดุสิตพระราชทานพระบรมราชวโรกาสให้นายนิตพิบูลสงครามรัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการต่างประเทศนำนายโรเบิร์ตดีเรย์อดีตผู้ว่าการรัฐไอโอวาสหรัฐอเมริกาและนางบิลลี่แอลเรย์ภริยาพร้อมด้วยนางจูดิตเอพิมผู้อำนวยการกิจการเลขาธิการมูลนิธิ The World Food Prize เฝ้าทูลละอองธุลีพระบาทน้อมเกล้าน้อมกระหม่อมถวายเหรียญดร.นอร์แมน อี บอลลุก World Food Prize Medallion
Governor Ray and Billy, thank you so much for making that long trip to do that. And welcome tonight also Governor Branstad and Chris and Governor Vilsack. Thank you all so much for being here with us this evening. I know what Governor Ray is thinking. I'm sure what he's thinking is if only we could have gotten that kind of coverage when he was in office and still running, but that's better late than never. But so, Governor, thank you again. But the biggest day we had was July 17th at the U.S. Capitol when Dr. Borlaug was presented the Congressional Gold Medal. For those who were there, it's a day we'll never forget. But for those of you who couldn't join us, I'd like to share just a little bit of that ceremony with you tonight.
It's a special day to celebrate the life of a true great humanitarian, our friend, one we admire so much, gives back, Dr. Borlaug.
Dr. Borlaug, your landmark discoveries, countless contributions, and leadership in plant breeding and agriculture production gave the world's poorest people access to food.
And as has been said, upwards of 1 billion lives have been saved across the world because of his efforts. Not bad for a farm boy from Cresco, Iowa. Not bad for a kid who began his education in a one-room schoolhouse.
He's spared more people from the sharp hunger pains that strike an empty stomach than any one of us farmers could ever dream of doing. He's saved more lives than any other person in history.
Today is one of the most significant days in the over 10,000-year-old history of agriculture. I feel fortunate to be here on a day when one of the greatest Americans and humanists of all times is being honored.
In 1963, President Kennedy said, "The war against hunger is truly mankind's war of liberation." That same year, Dr. Norman Borlaug was giving bread to a hungry world, saving millions of lives in countries such as Mexico, India, and Afghanistan. Of course, that number would grow. No person, before or since, has done more to answer the call to help liberate the world from hunger.
The most fitting tribute we can offer this good man is to renew ourselves to his life's work and lead a second green revolution that feeds the world, and today we'll make a pledge to do so. Dr. Borlaug, I thank you for your vision and dedication. I thank you for leading a life of great purpose and achievement. I thank you for proving to Americans that what we learned as children is still true, that one human being can change the world.
We need better and more technology, for hunger and poverty and misery are very fertile soils into which to plant all kinds of isms, including terrorism. I thank you very much for the support that you have all given, and especially in that critical period of the 60s when the world said nothing can be done. Look what happened. Thank you.
Everyone felt tremendous pride that day. Governor Culver and I were sitting together, and I think you agree with me that it was a great day to see this native son of Iowa receive this global recognition. And we at the World Food Prize believe it's appropriate to further honor our founder. And so it's with great pleasure that I announce tonight that work has begun today, this morning, to transform the 100-year-old library building in Des Moines into the Norman E. Borlaug Hall of Laureates. And I want to further announce that we have selected the architects. We did a massive search across the nation, and that we have chosen the team to do this: Gensler Architects and Designers, the RDG Planning and Design firm, and Douglas Hare Landscape Architects to carry out this marvelous project. And in 2010, the World Food Prize Borlaug Dialogue is going to be in that building. Now, maybe you noticed coming in these banners downstairs hanging in the rotunda. They're soon going to be hanging on the outside of the Hall of Laureates to remind everybody that we're in there working and we're doing things, and that in the end, the Hall of Laureates is going to honor Dr. Borlaug with a visualization of his role as father of the Green Revolution, and it's going to pay tribute to all the World Food Prize laureates who are here tonight. And it's going to honor the great heroes and agricultural and humanitarian pioneers of Iowa. We've already raised $13.3 million. We're on our way to get the remaining $16 million to finish the job. And once completed, it's going to be the place where the Youth Institute and the Borlaug Dialogue takes place. And 100 years from now, you'll still be there, Norm, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about the rest of us. And that people are going to be going in there, and they're still going to be inspired by Dr. Borlaug's life and achievements, because that's going to be the place where his legacy resides. Now, one of Dr. Borlaug's great dreams is to instill a passion for science and a concern for global food security in young people. You know, originally he was going to go to Iowa State Teachers College and become a science teacher. Then somehow he went north to the University of Minnesota, and I guess we've forgiven him for that. But he got a wonderful education there. But he and John Ruan thought, our young people don't have the connection to the land and to food production they should have. So in 1994, Norman Borlaug and John Ruan created the World Food Prize Youth Institute. Excuse me, Governor.
A logical outgrowth of the World Food Prize, the Youth Institute was established in 1994 by Nobel Peace Prize laureate Dr. Norman E. Borlaug, father of the Green Revolution, and businessman and philanthropist John Ruan. In October of each year, the Youth Institute provides a 3-day, all-expenses-paid educational opportunity and forum for high school-age students. Enrolled students interact with Nobel and World Food Prize laureates and are exposed firsthand to an array of experts, facilities, and organizations relating to food security. Each participating school designates one student and one faculty member to attend the Institute, which occurs in conjunction with the annual World Food Prize activities in Des Moines, Iowa. Student and faculty teams are responsible for preparation of a discussion paper, which is presented by the student before a panel of World Food Prize laureates and members of the Council of Advisors. Discussion, interaction, and presentations by guests and officials enhance the intellectual experience. Youth Institute participants are then eligible to be selected for World Food Prize international internships. These 8-week summer experiences offer the opportunity for students to serve around the world at prestigious international research centers in countries such as the Philippines, Peru, Mexico, India, Kenya, and Indonesia.
Now, in the first year, when they started the World Food Prize Youth Institute, they had 13 schools and 13 students represented. Today, we have almost 90, and they come mostly from Iowa, but also from Arizona, Illinois, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Texas, and Wisconsin, and from 4 other countries, Nigeria, France, Mexico, and Tanzania. And so they're here tonight with us up in this balcony over here. And so please join me in welcoming them and greeting them. And I want to especially note that we have 3 students here from Nebraska. Last year, a sad note, Hank Beechel, the 1996 laureate, passed away at the age of 100. Man who brought, with Dr. Cush, the green revolution in rice to Asia. And so these students are now here, and we'll have students next year and thereafter as Henry Hank Beechel scholars coming to the World Food Prize Youth Institute. So a special welcome to all of you in Nebraska, even though you did beat us badly in football. So sorry, Dr. Joe Free. That. Now, each year, from this group of students, we pick 13, and we send them on 8-week assignments as Borlaug Ruan interns. We send them to renowned international agricultural research centers in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So 17, 18-year-olds, we put them on the plane. Lisa Fleming, who's the director of the youth program, gets them all going, and they have incredible life-changing experiences. Now, each year, we recognize 2 most outstanding Borlaug Ruan interns to receive the John Crystal and the Amundsen Intern Awards. And here to present those awards this year, our Pulitzer Prize winner and member of the World Food Prize Council of Advisors, Michael Gartner, and representing the Ruan family, Amanda Fletcher.
Nice to have you here and joining the World Food Prize
Thank you,
family. This is maybe the best part of the World Food Prize, dealing with the young people.
I'm so pleased to be here this evening representing the Ruan family. I'm sorry, I just got nervous.
Well, you don't need to be nervous. All you have is the governor and all these famous people here. Who are the young people this year?
Each year, I'm so impressed with all of the achievements of the Borlaug Ruan interns, and this year is no different.
Let's hear about them.
I really think they all should be winners.
Okay. Let's hear about them.
The recipient of the 2007 Amundsen Intern Award is Diane Brown of Johnston High School and Iowa State University. Diane is being honored for excellence in fulfilling her summer research project which best reflects Mrs. Roberta Green Amundsen's commitment to increasing awareness of world food security problems. Diane completed her 2006 summer internship at the International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center in El Batan, Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, Diane Brown.
Borlaug because they both believed that our young people were out of touch with agriculture and food production. Roberta Amundsen has a deep commitment to supporting young people and fighting hunger. You have made them all so proud this evening, and I know that they send you their very best wishes for your continued success. Congratulations.
The recipient of the John Crystal Intern Award is Stephen Lauer of Des Moines Roosevelt High School and Drake University. Stephen is the 2006 Borlaug Ruan intern whose research has been judged to best reflect the commitment and interest Mr. Crystal had in international understanding and solving pressing world food problems. Stephen performed his Borlaug Ruan internship at the World Fish Center's Regional Center for Africa and West Asia in Abbas, Egypt. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lauer.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Stephen, and on behalf of the World Food Prize Institute, it's a great pleasure to present you with this award. Now, don't go away, because here I get to tell you a little bit something about John Crystal. You can listen if you want, but this is mainly for you. John Crystal was a wonderful man. He was a great citizen of Iowa and of America and of the world. He was a man of great contrasts. He was president of the Iowa Bankers Association the same year he was president of the Iowa Civil Liberties Union. He was born and raised and lived most of his life in a small house in Coon Rapids, and yet he was as well known in the Kremlin in Moscow as he was in the Southside Cafe in Coon Rapids. He was a farmer and a banker, the very symbols of freedom and free enterprise in America, and yet he traveled regularly to the farms and fields of Russia so that he could spread the word of agriculture. For he, like Dr. Borlaug, believed that agriculture transcended any ideologies that there might be. He was a very complicated man. He followed his ideals. He was a farmer, as I said, but he really didn't much care for animals. He didn't like dogs, and he hated cats. He was a man of high moral standards, but he ranked preachers just slightly above cats. And but he had great ideas and great ideals. And he followed those ideas and ideals. And the reason I tell you all this, Stephen, is because if you do the same, you can do what he did. John changed the world, and you can too. So congratulations.
Students are so impressive. Now, to tell you that, we have this big ceremony, we have all these laureates come, we have a symposium. But the most favorite part of the World Food Prize for Dr. Borlaug is the Youth Institute. He calls on the phone to talk to me. The first thing he asks about always is, how are those students doing? How are those interns doing that we send abroad? And Norm has had a dream that one day the Youth Institute and the internship program wouldn't just be here, centered in Iowa with a few others coming, that it could be a national youth institute. And he's talked about it often. Well, Norm, Tonight, your dreams are coming true. One of Norm's closest friends and supporters, Mr. Clay Mathiel, one of America's most successful entrepreneurs and business executives, a man who took a small company and built it into the Imes pet food industry, and has supported Norm in all of his endeavors, has committed $750,000 to the World Food Prize over the next 5 years for us to create the National Youth Institute here and to begin that process to expand to all 50 states. And he said, you can see the businessman in him, he said, and if we do a good job on that, maybe there could be 5 more years to bring it up to a total of $2 million. What a wonderful, generous gift in honor of Dr. Borlaug. Clay Mathiel, please stand up so we can thank you. That's it. I have to tell you, Clay, I'm feeling the pressure already. And I think, in this type of business arrangement, I better get started. So the president of Purdue University, Dr. Franz Cordova, is here, along with members of the Board of Regents and directors of the agricultural program. So I want to make a pitch. I think next year there ought to be 6 students from Indiana coming, so we can add them to the list. And I want you to help us with a partnership on that so that Purdue is recruiting them and sending them here in honor of Phil Nelson and in honor of Purdue University. So I hope we can make a deal on that, because I got to get busy. That's it. Now, I have another story to share with you. I think it's a wonderful story, and it's about young people as well. If you were here last year when our laureates were from Brazil, you know that we had a special entertainment program. We had 2 very remarkable young men who came from the poorest part of Rio de Janeiro. And their mother, to keep them from all the dangers there, had put them in training to become classical violinists. And they were 19-year-old twins, and they came out here and performed in honor of our laureates. Their names were Walter and Wagner Caldas. So it was a wonderful story. And it happened that Ben Allen, the president of Northern Iowa University, was here. And he heard them. And he said, wouldn't it be great if they could come and study at UNI in Cedar Falls and he offered them a scholarship. But could they get the visas? Could they get the paperwork? Could they get the other money to help support that? And Marty and Gilmara Mitchell, Marty's from IDED and who has worked in Brazil, and his wife is from Brazil, have put all their efforts over the past year. The visas came through about 2 weeks ago. They arrived in Iowa last week, and they are here tonight with their new identity as Brazilian Iowans to perform for you. Please welcome Walter and Wagner Caldas. I told you it's a great story, isn't it? And it wouldn't have happened except they were here last year. Ben Allen and Professor Valentine from UNI said, here's something that we can do, and it's forever going to be a wonderful connection between Brazil and Iowa. And it's appropriate tonight because, as you see a little bit, our laureate has been involved in things coming from Brazil to the United States, orange juice. And so we now have our import as well, along with you. Well, now we turn to the centerpiece of the evening, the presentation of the $250,000 World Food Prize. If you've been or watched the Nobel Prize in Stockholm or in Oslo, you know that it can't happen without the proclamation of the king. And if we, of course, don't have a king, but we have a governor, and he issues proclamations. And I am so pleased to be able to present to you tonight to do that, a man who has a great passion for education, great passion for uplifting young people, for emphasizing biorenewable energy for our state and paving the way to the future, the governor of Iowa, the Honorable Chet Culver.
Thank you, Ambassador Quinn. It is my honor to welcome all of our distinguished guests to the Capitol tonight. We are here to celebrate the achievements of so many individuals who have done so much to combat hunger. To all who are visiting from all over the globe, we welcome you to Iowa. We especially thank Dr. Borlaug, Ambassador Quinn, John Ruan Sr., John Ruan III, and the Ruan family, our former governors, Ray, Branstad, and Vilsack, Congressman Boswell, Speaker Murphy, all of our distinguished legislative leaders that are here, and elected officials, and so many others that have decided to spend a night in Des Moines on this very special occasion. It's fitting that the state of Iowa hosts the World Food Prize. Our tradition of food production and innovation has a long history of such distinguished names as George Washington Carver, Herbert Hoover, Henry Wallace, and of course, a generation after generation of incredible Iowa farmers. I'd like to take a moment to give special thanks and recognition to our native son, Dr. Norman Borlaug. Dr. Borlaug helped end the famine in Mexico. He took his mind and his labor to India and Pakistan, feeding countless people, while developing new methods of food production and, more importantly, sharing his understanding with governments and citizens in every corner of the world. In recognition for his work to eradicate hunger, Dr. Borlaug is one of only 5 people in history to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the Congressional Gold Medal. And in 1986, he established the events we celebrate today, the World Food Prize. The World Food Prize draws attention to people who, through their work, increase quantity and quality and availability of food around the world. But this award does more than congratulate those who help save lives. Dr. Borlaug has inspired us to help develop role models for future generations. He's always encouraging and supporting further study, research, and work related to eradicating hunger. So earlier this week, as governor, I was honored to proclaim October 16th as Norman Borlaug and World Food Prize Day in Iowa. Tonight, the World Prize family of laureates welcomes a new member, and we're glad that so many of those laureates are with us here tonight. And I'm proud to recognize another distinguished humanitarian, an accomplished research scientist at Purdue University and fellow Midwesterner, Dr. Philip E. Nelson. Through 4 decades of work and research, he revolutionized transportation, packaging, and storage of fresh fruits and vegetables. Norman Borlaug has said about Dr. Nelson's work, and I quote, "He significantly reduced crop spoilage and made it possible to distribute massive quantities of high-quality food safely around the world. His innovations are utilized daily to provide a constant supply of food to the world's most vulnerable citizens. Whether used in geographically disadvantaged areas or in response to natural disasters such as the 2004 tsunami or during Hurricane Katrina recovery, Dr. Nelson's work has saved and continues to save lives around the world. Therefore, as the governor of the state of Iowa, it is my privilege and my honor to proclaim Dr. Philip E. Nelson as the 2007 World Food Prize Laureate, and I will sign the proclamation to make that official. Congratulations, Dr. Phillips.
Well, you heard what the governor said. He revolutionized the food industry. Now I want to show you a little bit more about it. Please watch.
Throughout history, the ability to preserve food has been central to ensuring adequate nutrition and countering hunger. Meeting that challenge, the work of our 2007 World Food Prize Laureate has revolutionized the way the world stores and transports food. Raised on a farm near Morristown, Indiana, young Philip Nelson grew up working in his family's tomato canning factory, known as the Blue River Packing Company. There, he experienced firsthand the difficulties of harvesting and storing the seasonal tomato crop before it perished. The rush to process and can tomatoes led Nelson's father to remark, "You don't have to be crazy to be a tomato processor, but it helps." At the age of 15, Philip Nelson won the crown of Tomato King in a contest at the Indiana State Fair sponsored by Purdue University. He went on to study agriculture at Purdue, where he met and married his college sweetheart, Sue. After graduating in 1956, Nelson returned to the family canning operation, only to find that the tomato industry had largely moved west. His family made the painful decision to close Blue River, and Nelson was left to ponder his future. He returned to Purdue as a part-time horticulture instructor and earned his PhD in flavor chemistry. Later, after briefly considering a job on the East Coast, he had a sudden change of heart. He decided to continue his career at Purdue, this time as a tenure-track assistant professor. It was a decision that would lead to a nearly 50-year career at the university and the scientific discoveries that would impact the world. Recalling his experiences as a boy, Nelson was intrigued by the challenge of whether tomatoes, one of the world's most processed food products, could be stored aseptically or pathogen-free in tanks for long periods of time without becoming contaminated or spoiling while retaining their flavor and nutrients. Starting with 5 100-gallon tanks, which Nelson and his students filled with tomatoes they chopped by hand, he embarked on the painstaking process of bringing together various elements of aseptic processing. Through trial and error, he eventually settled on carbon steel tanks lined with an epoxy resin. He created valves to allow the sterilized food to fill the tanks without reintroducing contaminants, and developed filters to keep the air in the tanks sterile. Nelson took the success of the 100-gallon tanks to food industry representatives. While they were impressed by his innovations, they told him the tanks were far too small for their purposes. Nelson took on their challenge and worked his way up to 15,000-gallon tanks. After years of hard work and setbacks, he finally achieved success. Nelson introduced to the world something that had never been possible before: the ability to store bulk quantities of foods for long periods of time with no spoilage, contamination, or loss of flavor or nutritional value. Companies from around the U.S. and abroad began implementing Nelson's bulk aseptic storage system and were able to adapt it for other fruit and vegetable products. In the early 1970s, Nelson partnered with the Scholle Corporation to develop bulk aseptic filling techniques for flexible packaging rather than cans, drums, and tanks for the storage of processed foods. With Nelson's collaboration, Scholle developed bags that held up to 300 gallons and were cheaper to manufacture and easier to transport than the heavier metal containers. Ultimately, the technology to store foods aseptically in bags spread throughout the food industry, replacing metal drums and tanks. Nelson also worked with Fran Rica Manufacturing to develop the bag-in-box system, which allowed for polyurethane bags to be filled aseptically, sealed, and then placed in boxes for easy and inexpensive transport. The bag-in-box system has had a remarkable impact in developing countries, where much of the harvested crop is often lost to spoilage. The low cost and relative ease of transporting various foods has allowed these countries to preserve food for domestic distribution or for export and sale overseas.
In many nations, up to half the food supply is lost due to storage, packaging, and transport deficits. The breakthrough technologies of Dr. Nelson and his methodologies are tearing down these barriers to a food-secure world.
One of the more widely visible impacts of Nelson's work came in the mid-1980s, when Tropicana approached Nelson to apply his technologies to orange juice. At the time, most orange juice was processed and transported in frozen concentrate form to maintain freshness and flavor. Tropicana applied Nelson's systems to protect the flavor of orange juice in million-gallon tanks, thus allowing fresh juice to be sold year-round and with options such as low or no pulp or vitamin and mineral fortification. The technology spread to Brazil, where tanker ships were developed, each capable of storing and exporting 8 million gallons of orange juice from Brazil to Europe and the United States. Interestingly, the shipments arranged by the Brazilian company Citrasuco are offloaded in the U.S. by the Ruan companies, led by World Food Prize Chairman John Ruan III. Philip Nelson's technologies can be found in almost every country in the world. He has traveled extensively, sharing his methods and knowledge with scientists from around the globe and working with international companies such as Tetra Pak and Kikkoman. New humanitarian applications have also arisen from his technology. Feeding programs can now provide aseptically packaged milk and biscuit products as part of school nutritional programs in the developing world. And companies are applying Nelson's systems to provide emergency relief in times of crisis. Following the destruction of the 2004 tsunami in Southeast Asia and the 2005 hurricanes in the United States Gulf Coast, relief efforts provided potable water using the flexible packaging systems perfected by Nelson. The convenience and cost-effectiveness this packaging provides are likely to allow global relief agencies to expand their efforts. Dr. Nelson's impact on the global food industry cannot be overstated. He holds a dozen U.S. patents and more overseas. And in 1991, the Institute of Food Technologists hailed aseptic processing and packaging as the greatest overall innovation in food science of the past 50 years.
Food scientists worldwide recognize Dr. Philip Nelson, who has revolutionized the way food is processed, stored, packaged, and transported. His achievements place him among the giants of food science Nicholas A. Pear, who discovered canning, Louis Pasteur, who developed pasteurization, and Clarence Birdseye, who developed quick freezing. Dr. Nelson's work has opened up the opportunity to feed the world.
Dr. Philip E. Nelson is truly an icon of the food world. His discoveries have made major contributions to the availability of nutritious food for millions of people around the globe. And his legacy will continue to grow as many of the emerging uses of aseptic processing and storage are applied and adopted worldwide. It is thus most fitting that this one-time tomato king, talented son of Purdue University, and dedicated scientist now be honored as the 2007 World Food Prize laureate.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 2007 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Philip E. Nelson.
Just come up here.
Dr. Norman Borlaug and John Ruan III will now present the World Food Prize sculpture by renowned artist Saul Bass to the 2007 laureate in honor of his great contributions to humankind.
I'd like to invite our new laureate, Dr. Nelson, to say a few words.
Very much, dignitaries here today. Governor, thank you very much. Dr. Borlaug, the Ruan family, Ambassador Quinn and the World Food Prize Organization, past laureates, Barbara Bird Keenan, Executive Vice President of IFT, and my family members of IFT, President Cordova, and my colleagues from Purdue University, my industry partners that really made this happen, my children, my granddaughters, the siblings, and of course, I have to say this, I heard this earlier today or yesterday, that behind every successful man is an astonished wife. It's my wife, Sue. I thank all of you for making this night a dream come true for me. As the 28th laureate, I bring a different discipline to the World Food Prize. But I assure you that We all have the same goal of providing a sufficient and safe food supply for all mankind. I am honored to receive this award. Thank you.
I want to invite Sue Nelson. Sue, why don't you come up with Dr. Nelson? Since you referred to your wife, I thought only fitting that we bring her up here with you. Now,
oh, wonderful.
You would have thought. Yeah. So please, everyone sit down. I have to admit, Dr. Nelson, that you present something of a problem for us about how to conclude the ceremony. You know, last year we had Brazilian laureates, so we had the Brazilian musicians. The year before we had a laureate from India, and we had Kathik Ganjan. The dance team that were here was a beautiful thing. But you're from Indiana, and I don't know what Indiana music is or things, so we were really perplexed. Now, I asked Sue, and she reminded me that you were in the Glee Club at Purdue, and that, in fact, it was that you met because you were in the Glee Club. So she said, maybe I should call Brian Breed over there, that he might have an idea about what Indiana music might be. Oh, my. So I called Brian Breed, and he had what I thought was a really interesting suggestion for a number. And so here, as a final tribute to you, is the Purdue University Glee Club.
Oh, my. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh. Wonderful.
From your Purdue University family and from Purdue musical organizations and the students of the Purdue Varsity Glee Club, we would like to lend our salute, our thanks, and our appreciation for the opportunity to join in this very, very important occasion. For the honor of Old Purdue, this is for you, Dr. Nelson.
Come along, let us join in our song. Hail to Old Purdue. On the Wabash she stands with her welcoming hands as an alma mater true. Far and wide she's our own Hoosier pride, ever we loyal will be. So we'll sing it out and we'll raise a shout for our university. Then hail, all hail to Old Purdue, the pride of all the West. We'll sing out the story and we'll tell out the glory of the school we love the best. Then hail, all hail to Old Purdue, our alma mater true. And we'll ever stand every heart and hand for the honor of Old Purdue.
As many of you probably know, Purdue University is in the great state of Indiana. And we bring from our state to yours one of the few state songs that are written about the great subject, agriculture. On the banks of the Wabash, far away. Feel free to sing along.
Moonlight's fair tonight along the Wabash, from the fields
Before we sing Hail Purdue, which I hope you would honor us by leading us in Hail Purdue, of course, a fight song that is near and dear to our heart, and we appreciate you letting us invade your space here in the great state of Iowa and bring Purdue and the spirit of Purdue, and it's never been more alive than tonight. So before we get there, we have a real song of tribute and salute to really commemorate this occasion. It's simply titled, "This Is the Moment."
This is the time when the momentum and the moment are in line. Give me this moment, this moment, this moment. I'll gather up my past and make some sense at last. This is the moment, my final test. Destiny beckons, I never reckon second best. This is the day, just see it shine, when all I've lived for becomes mine. This is the moment, my time is near. This day or never, I walk forever without fear. When I look back, I will recall, moment for moment, this was the moment, the greatest moment of them all. The greatest moment, moment of them all.
Congratulations. Here we go. To your call. Now, you're going to have to stand and clap on this one.
Yes.
Please rise, everyone. Hail Purdue!
You call once more, we rally alma mater, hear our praise. Hear the voices, this valley filled with joy, our voices raise. From the skyline swelling echoes and the cheers that tell the tale of victory land. Here you will hail Purdue, we sing, all hail. Hail, hail to old Purdue, all hail to our old gold and black. Hail, hail to old Purdue, our friendship machine never lags. Ever grateful, ever true, thus we raise our songs anew. Of the days we spent with you, all hail our own Purdue.
After years, we're turning alma mater back to you. May our hearts with love be yearning for the scenes of old Purdue. Back among your pathways winding, let us seek what lies before. Fondest hopes and aims they're finding while we sing of days of yore.
Hail, hail to old Purdue, all hail to our old golden black. Hail, hail to old Purdue, our friendship machine never lags. Ever grateful, ever true, thus we raise our songs anew. Of the days we spent with you, all hail our own Purdue.
Oh, thank you so much.
The Purdue Varsity Glee Club.
Hail, hail to old Purdue, our friendship may she never lack. Ever grateful, ever true, thus we raise our song anew.
I hope, Dr. Nelson, that you enjoyed that, because I'm in a lot of trouble here.
After years, we're turning alma mater back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2007 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony.